Hello and welcome everyone to this short lesson in the first week of the Fundamentals of Project Management course. The purpose of this lesson is just to introduce a couple of the concepts and to lay the groundwork for thinking about projects from the outside, from before you start work on the project. And so conceptualization, basically. A project is basically defined by its limits, in that project management is more or less the same as any other kind of management, except for the fact that it's limited. Whereas managing an organization is basically an infinite task that never ends and has different challenges as it goes along. The project is limited. It has a specific budget, limited period of time, and limited objectives. Projects can have a number of advantages for your organization, for the place where you work. One of them builds the capacity of the organization. As you work on a project, you are creating something, whether that be something which the organization itself can use, or whether it be something that is of use for the outside world. But in doing so, you are actually building people's skills, people's competencies, and therefore you are building the capacity of the organization. It gives you a chance to create teams, which is an extremely important thing in any organization. It creates opportunities for networking, not only internally but externally, particularly if you're working in a project team around with partners in different places. Then you are linking with other people, and you may well be linking with people in your community and so on to do this work. Gives you greater recognition because of these links, because of the things that you're doing outside. And one of the disadvantages is a project needs time, it needs energy, and it needs money. Designing a project is a rational, logical, sequential process. It's an extremely logical process to design a project. It very much follows a set of guidelines which is very easy to follow. And this process, this design process, answers four basic questions. One is, where do we want to go? One is, where are we now? And therefore, how do we get to where we want to go? And the last one is, and what will happen when we do? To break those down a little, the first one, where do we want to go? We're thinking first of all about what the problem is, what's the need, which will give us what's the goal of our project, what do we want to accomplish, and will then get us the objectives. And we'll be talking about all of these things in week 2 next week. Then we're thinking about where we are, which is things like what are the resources that we have, and here you can do a SWOT analysis. If you don't know what a SWOT analysis is, please let me know on the discussion board and I'm happy to explain it to you. How do we get there? We know where we're starting from, we know where we're finishing. So now we have to think of strategies. How do we get the best way from A to B? How do we use the resources that we have? How do we avoid the obstacles that we suspect are there? We can choose the strategy. We start thinking about the budget, the schedule, how are these things going to be put together? As I say, it's a very logical, sequential process, and it all fits together very nicely. Then the final question is, what will happen when we do? And in fact, it's what will happen as we go in many ways. This is things like monitoring and evaluating and reporting. All of these things are crucial elements to the design of the project and also to the actual implementation of the project. And of course, we'll be spending a fair amount of time on that on this course. So your first task, in a sense, your first major project task for this course is firstly to think about what do you need to write a project about? Because as we go through this course, I'm going to ask you to actually create a project, to design a project. So the first thing you need to do is start thinking about, well, what needs to be done. So think of an area where you think there's a need. Maybe it's internal to your organization, maybe it's from where you work, you can see that there's a need. Or maybe it's something external, something that you believe your organization could help with in the wider community. This is going to help you to define the problem and the need. And I'm going to ask you to start to write your problem and your need on the discussion for this module, for this week 1 of this course. I hope that has been of use to you.